Welcome to Thomas Houston's webcast summarizing the important topics presented at the 2020 National Industry Liaison Group Virtual Conference. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the in-person conference was canceled, and the NILG has offered more than 25 webinar programs to be presented between July 6th through September 1st. Thomas Houston had the pleasure of attending these programs and will be presenting the summaries of these programs in two separate webcasts, one for July sessions and one for August and September sessions. As a consultancy that specializes in affirmative action and equal employment opportunity, Thomas Houston attended these sessions that were directly related to our main line of business, affirmative action compliance. As such, as we move through this presentation, you will notice that the focus on many of the attended sessions was compliance evaluations, including focused reviews, individuals with disabilities, Section 503, VEVRA, veterans, and equal employment opportunity. We will begin by reviewing and highlighting the various sessions as related to affirmative action compliance. We will explain how the OFCCP and the NILG are collaborating to assist the federal contracting community. We will then review the opening remarks as presented by OFCCP Director Craig Lean, information on the various types of compliance evaluations, the functional AAP, the new early resolution conciliation process, best practices for employing individuals with disabilities, and compensation and pay analysis. The National Industry Liaison Group's mission is to further equal access and non-discrimination by partnering with agencies, practitioners, and consultants to the contractor community. The NILG supports local ILGs and produces the annual conference with national and local input. The NILG has continued its OCCP partnership under a Memorandum of Understanding and is continuing the compensation roundtable with them. Director Lean opened the conference as the keynote speaker. He shared that the OFCCP core values are certainty, efficiency, recognition, and transparency. The OFCCP has also developed the Contractor Compliance Institute to assist contractors with compliance. During the last fiscal year ending September 30th, 2019, the agency had collected a record-breaking $40 million in settlements. Director Lean had also mentioned several new initiatives, including the Ombuds program, which can be used to assist contractors in mediation with the OFCCP. Director Lean also explained the new outreach focus for historically Black colleges and universities, Hispanic Association of Colleges and Universities, and tribal colleges and universities. He recommends establishing a council with local tribal leadership for companies that are located on or near an Indian reservation. The OFCCP has been very active in this fiscal year of 2019. The Corporate Scheduling Announcement List, or CSAL, was released in March of 2019. It listed 3,500 locations and included 4 types of compliance evaluations. The first type, the Corporate Management Compliance Evaluation, or CMCE, used to be called a glass ceiling review and is conducted at the corporate headquarters. The second type, the traditional establishment review, is specific to a contractor establishment location. The third type, the compliance check, is a brief overview of several items including minority female goal accomplishments, examples of job service listings, examples of accommodations provided, and the number of protected veteran and individuals with disabilities employees. The fourth type of review is the Section 503 focused review, focusing specifically on individuals with disabilities. In November of 2019, the OFCCP released a list of 500 locations to be scheduled for the VEVRA focused reviews. These scheduling letters will be sent in the fall of 2020. Director Lean stated that they are going to be scheduling 2 new types of reviews for promotions and accommodations. We are awaiting further specifics as to what they will include. The OFCCP continues to encourage the use of Functional Affirmative Action Plans, or FAPs. They want affirmative action plans to be useful to contractors so they can impact change and diversity. For some larger multi-level companies, FAPs might be a better representation of how the recruiting, pay, and promotional budgets are established. It is recommended that all FAP discussions take place under attorney-client privilege to determine if they are the best way for the company to create affirmative action plans that are compliant with OFCCP regulations and with moving towards compliance with diversity goals. Since functional affirmative action plans can result in larger job groupings across multiple locations, analysis of the risk and liability of those larger groupings should be part of the conversation. A company can include both functional and establishment affirmative action plans in their plan structure. The OFCCP introduced Directive 2019-02 in November of 2019 as the Early Resolutions Conciliation Agreement, or ERCA. This directive is meant to assist contractors in completing the compliance review in a more efficient and timely manner. Under the current process, there are many older audits which are also extremely time-consuming. The ERCA has helped the agency close long-sitting audits. The early resolution process moves the audit to the conciliation phase, rather than going through the predetermination notice, the notice of violation or show cause notice, and then the conciliation agreement. If a contractor agrees to an ERCA, the process is completed in a much shorter time frame, possibly as soon as 2 weeks. There can be non-material violations, such as the lack of outreach or good faith efforts, lack of self-analyses, or audit and reporting. The material violations that are non-discriminatory may include record-keeping or applicant tracking system violations. Any discriminatory material violations can include back pay or job offers. The enhanced compliance provisions within ERCA will require the contractor to conduct a self-audit and submit within 60 days as a proposal to the OFCCP. This self-audit should include reviewing and revising procedures as needed, employee training, especially for newly hired managers or supervisors, continuance of impact ratio analyses, etc. The compliance agreement is for a period of 5 years and must also include other contractor locations that may have similar issues. These locations will not be scheduled for a compliance review during the conciliation period. However, if the contractor does not provide the requirements under the conciliation agreement, then the compliance review will resume. As we have previously stated, individuals with disabilities compliance has been a priority for the OFCCP for the last several years. They are now conducting focused reviews for individuals with disabilities at the corporate headquarters. It is important to ensure all job descriptions and postings list essential functions such as education, experience, skills, licenses, etc., including physical and mental qualifications. These should be job-related and should be able to be performed with or without a reasonable accommodation. Any pre-screening questions should be job-related only so that it does not screen out individuals with disabilities. The Individuals with Disabilities regulations require an annual assessment of these physical and mental qualifications, as well as outreach and good faith efforts and personnel processes. A best practice includes written personnel policies and procedures, a review of each step in the employment process, forms used, and record keeping. A centralized accommodation process and budget, supporting documentation and appropriate training, will ensure there are no impediments to the employment of qualified individuals with disabilities. Performance evaluations should include evaluation of the job responsibilities, with or without a reasonable accommodation. The OFCCP and the NILG have had 3 compensation roundtable meetings since 2019, the most recent being part of the 2020 NILG virtual conference. Director Lean started the discussion with his 8 principles. Adopt clear standards for job groupings, group similarly situated incumbents, SSEG reasonableness, discuss when the OCCP creates its own groupings, avoid over-aggregation, always evaluate interactions, control for all variables the contractor uses, and ensure that reviews are fair. The expert panel on the discussion responded with emphasis on the fact that contractors should group employees who are similarly situated for pay analysis, and that the OCCP should not proceed to further aggregate those groupings for their own analysis. The OCCP should understand that contractors care about pay equity and that fairness requires reasonable and transparent OCCP review. Many of the same considerations that are always mentioned when discussing compensation analysis apply to the topic of a gender pay gap or pay equity study. Any discussions and studies should be done strictly under attorney-client privilege. Before embarking on a study, determine what is to be achieved. Are you trying to just identify a gap? Do you intend to publish results in-house or publicly or not at all? Is there a budget available to make adjustments based on findings? A pay equity study involves many of the same efforts discussed throughout the webinar in determining similarly situated employees and using statistical methodology to account for job-related factors. Any study should not be done just to identify pay issues, but to get to underlying causes of talent distribution and workforce representation. The OCCP had some policy update information that we would like to share with you. Regarding rulemaking and TRICARE, the OCCP published the final rule, Affirmative Action and Non-Discrimination Obligations of Federal Contractors and Subcontractors, TRICARE Providers, in the Federal Register on July 2nd of 2020. The final rule aims to clarify the scope of the OCCP's authority over TRICARE providers, which has generated a considerable amount of agency guidance, litigation, and congressional action over the past several years. In regards to focus reviews, the OCCP is working on a landing page to showcase focus reviews and ample information regarding the new focus review initiatives. The Section 503 focus reviews began in September of 2019, and the OCCP has performed about 85% of those listed on the Corporate Scheduling Announcement Letter, or CSAL. The OCCP expects to begin scheduling VEVRA focus reviews in the fall of 2020. The OCCP announced focus reviews regarding accommodations such as religious and disability accommodations. The religious accommodations focus reviews will be first of the focus reviews to be rolled out. Regarding the promotions focus reviews that the OCCP had announced, the OCCP must first define promotions before this review type can be rolled out. A number of directives were released, beginning with Directive 2020-01, Spouses of Protected Veterans, a directive to ensure that federal contractors are not discriminating against spouses of protected veterans and to provide compliance assistance during compliance evaluations on how contractors can support the families of protected veterans. Directive 2020-02, Efficiency and Compliance Evaluations, is a directive to announce operational initiatives to keep the number of cases that are aged below 15% of the OCCP's total caseload. Directive 2020-03, Pre-Referral Mediation Program, is a directive to establish a mediation program offered by the OCCP to federal contractors and subcontractors to resolve findings of discrimination violations prior to referrals to the Office of the Solicitor for Enforcement. Directive 2020-04, Ombud Service Supplement, which we have covered earlier in this webcast, is a directive to supplement Directive 2018-09, which announced the implementation of an Ombud service to facilitate the fair and equitable resolution of specific types of concerns raised by the OCCP external stakeholders in coordination with regional and district offices. As we continue with the OCCP policy updates information, the OCCP's town halls have been halted in 2020 due to the COVID-19 health emergency. At the end of 2019, a list of deliverables and action items were in place as well as a list of accomplishments. A web page is currently being updated to show progress and next steps. They are hoping to have a virtual town hall before the end of 2020. Recognition programs were also mentioned. The OCCP is seeking to provide contractors with an incentive to implement innovative diversity and inclusion programs in their workplaces. The OCCP has implemented the Excellence in Disability Inclusion Award, or the Disability Inclusion Award, which aims to highlight successful practices and strategies of contractors that have expanded and improved recruitment, hiring, retention, and promotion opportunities for individuals with disabilities. The second award is the new Leadership in Equal Access and Diversity Award, or the LEAD Award, which recognizes contractor best practices in comprehensive equal employment opportunity and non-discrimination programs by identifying contractors that go above and beyond in creating and implementing programs of inclusion and fair treatment in the workplace. Additionally, the LEAD Award requires that awardees undergo a compliance evaluation prior to receiving the award if the contractor has not undergone a desk audit in the past 2 years. The Contractor Compliance Institute, which we have already discussed, includes upcoming programs such as supply and service compliance reviews and focused reviews. There are currently 2,882 registered users. The OFCCP has a learning portal for OFCCP staff and is also releasing a training calendar. Let's continue with the Indian and Native American Employment Rights Program, or INA-ERP, which advances awareness of employment rights and job opportunities for American Indians and Alaskan Natives who work for or seek employment with companies doing business with the federal government. The INA-ERP accomplishes this mission through compliance assistance and outreach to federal contractors and coordination with tribal representatives, community-based organizations, apprenticeship programs, workforce development agencies, and other federal stakeholders. In regards to construction contractors, the Construction Compliance Check Letter was approved by the Office of Management and Budget, or the OMB, in April of 2020. Contractors must comply with record-keeping requirements, such as personnel records, payroll records, job advertising, accommodations, and a copy of the Section 503 and Protected Veteran Affirmative Action Plans. The Construction Scheduling Letter allows the OFCCP to conduct a desk audit prior to visiting the construction site. The OFCCP developed its Mega Construction Project Program to facilitate construction contractors' access to a pipeline of diverse talent for some of this nation's largest construction projects. The focus of this program is first and foremost on providing compliance assistance and facilitating relationships that connect contractors with jobs to qualified people seeking jobs. Updates for the OFCCP's Technical Assistance Guides, or TAGs, were requested for construction and educational institutes. The construction and educational tags have already been published. The supply and service and small contractor tags are coming soon. There were other impactful topics presented during the July sessions of the NILG virtual conference, which we did not expand on, such as how to present information during an investigation or review, ODEP, or the Office of Disability Employment Policy, whose mission is to develop policy that increases job opportunities for youths and adults with disabilities. There were various discussions on diversity and inclusion. A number of OFCCP policy updates were shared with the attendees, and a compliance on campus presentation included guidelines for college and university recruitment and selection. The Thomas Houston team has enjoyed attending this year's NILG virtual conference and sharing the highlights with you. We hope you will be able to utilize this information in your ongoing affirmative action compliance efforts. The information provided in this webcast has been gathered from the various presentations of the virtual conference during the month of July and from the OFCCP, EEOC, and Department of Labor websites. A second webcast will be released in September, summarizing the August and September programs presented during this virtual conference. You can follow Thomas Houston on our social media sites listed below. To receive further information on any of the topics included in this webcast, or regarding our affirmative action compliance evaluation and AAEEO HR consulting services, contact our sales department by calling 800-330-9000 extension 110 or send a request via email to info@thomashouston.com. Thank you for your time and interest in today's webcast.